Have you ever wondered what your final words of the day sound like in heaven? Not the ones you spoke aloud during dinner or in texts or casual conversations, but the words whispered in your heart when the lights go out and you left alone with your thoughts. That sacred silence right before sleep, when your body is still but your soul is loud, is often the most honest moment of the entire day. What did your smile hide from others? What did your silence protect you from feeling? God saw it all. The moments no one clapped for. Just like a child comes home at the end of the day with dirt on their clothes and stories to share, so do we. And God doesn't turn his face away from our mess. He leans in closer. Trust doesn't come naturally when your prayers seem unanswered or delayed. But tonight, even without resolution, what if you offered the gift of trust anyway? Not interrupted, not judged, not misunderstood, but fully received as you are. That's how God hears you tonight, fully, with patience. That the same hands that shaped the stars hold our fragile moments like treasure. Close your eyes not just because you're tired, but because you want to trust. Let your final thought tonight be peace, not panic. Let it be presence, not performance. Let it be surrender, not stress. And say anything to the God who is already listening closer than your breath. Maybe it's a confession. Perhaps it's praise. Perhaps it's just that I'm hanging on. That's all. Welcome here. Because he never needed perfection. He only required your presence. That the same God who governs eternity still chooses to meet you in the sigh before you sleep. That's when prayer starts to feel like breathing, gentle and necessary. That's when you stop holding yourself together to survive the next day. You discover a deep, anchored rest that comes from finally being able to say, I'm not in this alone. I never was. So, as you lie down tonight, remember this. Say this before you close your eyes, whatever it is, however it sounds, because the one who loves you most is listening, right here, right now. You could go the rest of your life chasing rest in totalist checkmarks, performance, achievements, and people's approval, and still feel restless when the lights go out. But one word said in surrender before bed, just one spoken to the one who sees deeper than your surface, that changes everything. That transforms your bed into a sanctuary, your weariness into worship, and your silence into a sacred song with tenderness. He isn't compiling a list of where you fell short today. He's not interested in perfection over presence. What matters most to him is that you bring your real self, not your polished one. So come tired, come confused, come heavy and unfiltered as you are, with all that's messy and unresolved. Imagine him sitting beside your bed, not saying anything profound at first, but just being with you, breathing in sync, holding space for your emotions. You're not invisible here. You're not too complicated, too much, or too broken for him. You're a soul worth listening to, and he does completely. What if your final internal dialogue wasn't worry, or replaying mistakes, or obsessing over the unknown? What if it was faith? Not blind faith, but intentional faith. The kind that whispers, I don't know what's happening, but I know who still holds it. God doesn't ask you to figure everything out before you sleep. He asks you to hand it over, unfinished, unresolved, just as it is. And when you do, you're not surrendering to nothing. You're surrendering to the one who has never failed to wake the sun. He wants to hear about the thing that hurt you unexpectedly. He wants to hear you admit that you're tired of holding it all together. He isn't disappointed by your disappointment. He's leaning in, not to correct, but to comfort. And maybe that's what you need most tonight. Not answers, not quick fixes, but nearness. Just someone holy enough to lift the weight and kind enough to stay when you're breaking. The times you held back tears to keep the peace. The minor victories that felt major but were overlooked. He wasn't distracted. While you ran through a fast-paced world that barely made room for reflection, he was watching every step, understanding every feeling, even the ones you brushed off. And now, in this moment, before sleep, he invites you to give some of it back. Lay it down before you shut your eyes, child. Don't carry today's weight into tomorrow's breath. You're not putting on a face for coworkers. You're not performing for your family. You're simply being. And in that stillness, a quiet truth rises. God is listening, but his attention isn't based on your perfection, it's based on his love. A parent doesn't stop listening to a child just because they're crying instead of speaking. So why would the Father of comfort stop listening just because your words falter? Even your pauses are prayers if your heart is present. So don't wait to feel spiritual to speak. If all you can say before you close your eyes is "help me," that's enough. If all you can manage is "thank you for getting me through," that's holy. If you can't even speak at all but surrender your day with a few quiet tears, that's still sacred, because God is present, not in the volume, but in the vulnerability. Not in a distant way, not as a deity, high and removed, but near, attentive, and deeply invested in even the sighs you can't interpret. Maybe you've never said much to him at night. Maybe your prayers feel forced, or your faith feels fatigued. But tonight, consider this. What if the most powerful thing you say today is whispered in the final seconds before sleep? Our days are often filled with so much noise, it's hard to hear your soul speak, let alone hear the whisper of God. But when nighttime comes, suddenly the masks slip and the real feelings begin to surface. The regrets from the earlier flood are more vivid. The unspoken insecurities play on repeat, and our hearts gasp underneath the weight of unresolved emotions. We carry so much, don't we? The world doesn't stop just because we're tired. It demands, it rushes, it expects, and we respond if it breaks us. But the night, oh the night, it brings something rare. Invitation, an invitation to exhale, to stop striving, to release. And in that release, something sacred happens. We remember we were never meant to carry everything in the first place. When you close your eyes tonight, try to remember that you're not just ending a day, you're stepping into holy ground. The bed you lie on, the darkness surrounding you, and the silence in your room, those are not empty spaces. They're arenas of encounter. They're places where heaven bends low and listens close. God doesn't wait for grand sermons or perfect speeches. He listens for the tremble in your breath, the hesitation in your heart, and the unfiltered fragility of your soul. Saying something to him before sleep doesn't have to be complicated. It could be one sentence or no words at all, just intention. Trust doesn't always sound loud. Sometimes it's just a whisper that says, "I'm here, trying." And God responds not to the perfection of your sentence, but to the posture of your heart. Think about what you carried today, the emotions you swallowed, the conversations that didn't go as you hoped, the decisions that drained you. There's something deeply healing about acknowledging God before bed. It's not religion, it's a relationship. Some think God is only listening when you're strong, when your prayer is eloquent, or when you're filled with faith. Let's be honest, it's not always easy to trust someone you can't see. especially when life hasn't looked like you expected. Do you remember a time you felt heard, truly heard? This has always been the mystery and mercy of God, the same one who sustains galaxies, who pauses to listen to hearts. So, here's the invitation. Before you scroll one more time, before you overthink again, before the exhaustion takes over, pause. And when you begin to live from that truth that God is listening, not to your filtered best, but your rawest self, that when night becomes sacred again. What if the real goal of prayer wasn't to fix everything, but to feel God in everything? We live in a world obsessed with results, endings, fast answers, and visible progress. But God invites a different kind of pursuit, the type that isn't measured in outcomes, but in connectedness. You're human, inconsistent, vulnerable, and flawed. God knows how hard you're trying, even when the results are blurry. Sometimes we chase the kind of prayer life that feels strong, loud, and spiritual. But often the most fiercely faithful prayers sound like desperation in a whisper. You may be accustomed to formal language or structured spiritual practices, but tonight can be different. You don't need structure. You need space, just space, to be with the God who doesn't rush your healing or hurry your process. The sweet goal tonight is trust, not outcomes, not feeling inspired, not producing emotional moments. Just the simple decision to say, I don't know enough about tomorrow to hold on to the weight of it. He doesn't just remove the weight, he replaces it with rest. So here, God, I give it to you. And when he takes it, not temporary relief, but a soul-level shift, a profound calm that doesn't require all the pieces to fall into place. They sound like, I don't know what to do, or I'm scared, or I need you. Not in defeat, but in belief. The belief that God still heals, that quiet still counts, that fatigue doesn't mean failure, that pausing doesn't mean you're lost, it might mean you're finally found. The goal is not to sleep problem-free, but to sleep with a God-aware mind, to release control, even if briefly, because healing enters when the grip loosens, and peace arrives when you admit you're not the one who holds it all together. Not to have the answers, but to surrender the need for them. He says, come now, not later. It needs presence, not a better plan, a better awareness. So God invites you into that, even when nothing outside changes. Come tired, not ready. Come quietly, not perfect, just come. For this is the place of deep restoration, not on vacation, not when circumstances align, but here, and that is the highest goal of all. Now, in the still abyss of night, where whispers echo louder than crowds, this time is his time. It's yours too, and together, your soul and your Savior meet in a prayer not defined by outcome, but by honesty. Not to understand the road ahead, but to trust the one who walks it with you. Not to avoid every fear, but to stop handling them alone. Let this time be holy. Let the covers feel safe again, not suffocating. You're choosing connection in a world that's taught you to be numb. Let the stillness be a salve, not something to escape. Let prayer be your pillow, not composed, but comforting. Because when you say something to God before sleep, you're not just ending your day, you're ending your striving. If you were perfect, you'd not need grace. He's looking for your permission to comfort, to carry, to calm you. Letting him be God again is the bravest step you take before sleep. So, how can you come close? But the truth is, that's exactly what qualifies you. But at night, you hear better too. And that's what makes now sacred. and fear tried to camp out in your chest, God remains steady, and He remains yours. His availability is not limited to hours or conditions. There's no time limit or priority queue with Him. Maybe your smile wore thin from upholding peace that others broke. It's depth, and depth often starts right where expectations end. That's okay. You're not here to relive that pain. You're here to reframe it, not by denial, but by turning toward God with open hands. Because here, in this moment, your spirit craves not resolution, but recognition. And God sees you fully. He saw the tiny victories you didn't celebrate, the delayed tears you swallowed, the moment you almost gave in but didn't. He's not just listening to your bedtime prayer. He's been listening the entire day. It's when we finally stop explaining ourselves and start experiencing Him. It draws Him closer. He doesn't bolt at your insecurity. He steps nearer. This right here, showing up to speak, even if quietly, awkwardly, hesitantly, is everything. That is the goal. He remains unshaken. You don't need to be next in line. You already have His heart. So use this moment right now to move toward Him, not physically, but emotionally, spiritually, soulfully. The goal is not the destination. Right where we stop pretending life is fine and start inviting God to sit in the mess with us, gently, fully, kindly. If you had it all together, your heart wouldn't be thirsty for living water. Open it slowly, gently, courageously. That's it. God didn't create you so you could impress Him. He made you so that He could be with you, in joy, in pain, and in moments like this when you're in bed trying to process everything you didn't get time for. Your fatigue doesn't offend Him. There is deep beauty in a soul admitting it doesn't know what to pray, because that's where divine intimacy is born. God doesn't need words to reach you. He needs willingness, being in God's presence, not fixing the weak. The kind that doesn't rush to the finish line, but learns to lean into stillness. Perhaps you gave your heart to people who didn't protect it. Tonight, as you close your eyes, remember the goal of this moment isn't to seal your day with productivity or perfection. It's to unseal your heart. The goal is to be available to truth, to God, to peace. Being with Him is the victory. And sometimes, the night reminds us of that better than any daylight ever did. Today, you've likely carried things that no one saw, fought battles behind your eyes, regulated emotions no one could name, and put up a brave front in situations you didn't feel ready for. You've been responsible, capable, strong, and perhaps silently crumbling. And that's what makes this moment right now so powerful. Because now, no one is watching or expecting. You finally get to stop stepping up and lie back. You get to stop responding and finally receive. The goal isn't to perform for God or impress Him with spiritual stamina. It's to meet Him in your honesty. He understands unspoken weight. He interprets silence better than we speak words. If your prayer tonight is nothing more than "I'm tired," He doesn't label it as weak. He reads it as a beloved child returning home. And that's the very thing He longs for, not your correctness, but your closeness. Maybe part of you wonders if that kind of intimacy is even possible. After all, God is God and you. And here's the healing truth you may need tonight. Your value is not tied to your victories. Your identity is not limited to today's productivity. And you can because He has not changed. Though the world shouted opinions at you all day, though confusion tried to creep into your mind, maybe earlier today you felt ignored. And maybe that's been hard for you. Perhaps connecting with God has recently felt foggy. Sometimes the greatest leap of faith isn't getting up hits lying down. So as you lie here tonight, let that be your goal. Hear a truth the world untell you, but heaven keeps whispering. Your spirit doesn't need more clarity, more money, more applause before it can rest. There comes a moment often in the quietest parts of the night when we realize that maybe the greatest miracle is not a life where nothing ever goes wrong, but a heart that stays soft even when it does. Maybe peace doesn't mean every question is answered, but that we learn how to rest even in the midst of what we don't understand. Perhaps the real idea behind saying something before you close your eyes isn't to trigger a miracle out there. Somewhere it's to awaken the miracle within you, the miracle of presence. How many times have you hidden your grief behind a grin or your pain behind positivity? And ask yourself one question: what did I carry today that I can hand over now? It's about how much space we allowed between what we say we believe and how we live. Let your stomach untie itself. Let your jaw unclench. These are small things, yes, but they are sacred things. That God prefers tidy sentences and theological vocabulary. Maybe that voice made you feel disqualified. Let them hold onto the truth, even if that truth is that I don't have much to say tonight. Let that be your prayer. Why? Because your honesty is worship. Being vulnerable with God is your offering, and He receives it like royalty receives treasure. Prayer doesn't need to move heaven and earth. Most of the time, it just needs to move your own heart back into alignment with love. That is what tonight is for, to realign, to return, to rest in arms that were never closed. If your performance limited God's attention, He would have left long ago, but He hasn't. He is still here. But hear this now: God listens most deeply when you're most undone. He is not seeking performance, but participation. He wants to be involved in how you heal, in how you hope, in how you grow into peace. Not just at the mountaintop, but right here in this moment between wakefulness and sleep, where the noise dims and your soul can finally rise. So let it rise, because your body remembers the wars your mind tries to forget. And God cares about all of it, not just your spirit, but your soul and body. He's not waiting for you to climb to a higher level. He's already come low to meet you here. Rest is not the absence of problems. Rest is the presence of God in the midst of them. Prayer is not a performance, it's an embrace. Coming to God before you sleep is not a religious ritual, it's a rhythm of relationship. It's where your spirit exhales. And when you let your words rise to Him, when you allow the things inside of you to no longer be carried alone, you give your soul a chance to experience freedom, not just in the morning, but in the middle of the night. That's why we say something before sleep, not to earn peace, but to enter it. Not to finish the day perfectly, but to end it honestly. That is the final point. That's what makes this time holy. The point of saying something before you sleep is unto wish your day await. To recognize who was with you in every second of it, whether you felt Him or not, whether you honored Him or forgot Him, whether you succeeded or fell short, He remained. And the space can fill with distractions, shame, pride, numbness, fatigue, but that space can shrink again right now, not just by one whispered phrase: God, I'm here. That is the moment of reunion, not after a long process, not after earning your way back. Grace does not delay, it responds, always. And what it offers you tonight is not perfection, but peace, not advice, but affection, not pressure, but presence. Not because your day was good enough, but because God's love is. What's the one burden I'm not meant to wake up with tomorrow? Maybe it's disappointment. Perhaps it's guilt. Perhaps it's fear masquerading as planning. You don't need to name it all. You need to invite God in. Because when you ask Him into those raw, unfinished spaces, He doesn't come to condemn, He comes to comfort, to complete, to collect your scattered pieces and hold them steady. He comes not to erase the pain, but to endure it with you until healing comes. That's what makes sleep in trust such an act of faith. It's your way of saying, I couldn't fix it today, and I'm not going to ruin tomorrow trying to redo it tonight. It requires incredible strength to pretend, but it requires even more surrender to stop pretending. And something inside you tonight is ready for that surrender. Not because you failed to manage things well, but because your spirit is finally prepared to let God be more than your backup plan. He is not your fallback. He is the foundation. And prayer is where we return to that truth with tenderness, not like a soldier crawling back in defeat, but like a child resting in a love that never left, of peace that does not depend on resolution, of knowing that while your plans may unravel, your God never does. Tonight, right here, this may be that moment for you. Not loud, not theatrical, just deeply holy, because something happens when you let go. Something sacred rises when striving stops. You may have bent over backwards to support others, sacrificed your joy to make peace, or silenced your needs to avoid conflict. And now all of those unspoken moments of self-abandonment are echoing at night. They whisper through your thoughts as you try to rest. They remind you that something feels off, even if you can't put words to it. But God can. He knows exactly what your soul is trying to say, even when you don't. So tonight, give your tired heart permission to collapse into His arms. Let your soul be honest again. Let it speak freely, because God is not confused by your contradiction. He holds your chaos and calm in the same hand. You may still have files left unattended, messages left unreplied to, and emotions left unprocessed. But under all of that, your soul has been craving something else entirely. Not completion, but communion. Not productivity, but peace. And in this space, you are reminded, God is not asking you to prove anything before He draws near. He is already here. All He asks is that you meet Him in your truth. Whether that truth is fatigue, confusion, gratitude, conviction, or just vague longing, it's still truth, and God delights in truth. He doesn't need the polished version. He desires the present you, not the perfect you. You might have spent your day trying to meet everyone's expectations. Think of how often you've tried to silence your inner voice to keep things functioning on the outside. And as you lie here, with the day behind you, your mind rehearsing what felt wrong or incomplete, stop. Maybe you've felt far from God recently. The truth is, distance from Him is rarely about how far He's moved. So breathe now, slowly, fully. Let the tension in your neck soften. There's someone out there who may have told you that prayer is about protocol or precision. Even now, as your mind starts to quiet and your spirit begins to slow, let your words to Him be real. And as we reach the end of this part of the story, one truth burns brighter than anything else. Before you drift off into rest, before sleep finally carries you gently into tomorrow, let me say this: you are not alone, and you never were. Even in the moments today where you felt unseen, unheard, or overwhelmed, God was there. And He's still here now, close enough to catch every thought, every sigh, every silent prayer your heart didn't quite have the strength to say out loud. If anything in this prayer settled in your soul tonight, hold on to it, let it stay with you. But don't just keep it quietly inside. This isn't just a channel, and it's definitely not just another video. Not just to watch, but to be part of something bigger than yourself. Not because you have the answers, but because love shares what brings peace. A simple message from you can become a doorway to rest for someone else. In a world flooded with noise and distraction, your willingness to send a sacred message might be the gentlest miracle someone receives. Each time you return here, may it feel like coming home. Until then, rest easy, beloved. I pray that as you sleep tonight, peace will not only surround you, but also settle within you. That you will stop evaluating yourself by what you did unfinished, and start embracing the fact that you got through today with God at your side. I pray that your dreams will be filled with light, that your breath will deepen not from exhaustion, but from peace, that angels will guard your rest, and that joy, quiet and true, will meet you at sunrise like an old friend with open arms. A digital altar to lay down your heavy things, a quiet bench to sit and be seen. You never will. Say something before you sleep. Let God hear you every night. Even if you think He already knows, say it anyway. Your voice matters in the realm where prayers rise and peace rains down. A soft voice reminding you, night after night, that you matter and that God is still listening and still guiding and still holding you together in all the ways you no longer can. Let your pillow hold your peace just as it holds your head, and let your heart finally believe what God's been saying all along. I am here. I see you. I will not let go. Rest, knowing it's safe now to be soft, to be silent, to be seen. This is a sacred space being created not by content, but by souls like yours. People who are tired of surface-level answers. People who want a space to rest deeply, to connect honestly, to pray without shame, to encounter truth that breathes and heals. Every video you'll find here isn't just made for you, it's made with you in mind. Sometimes, the very healing you receive becomes healing for someone else when you share it. Suppose this message resonates with a tender place in your heart. In that case, I invite you now, gently and without pressure, to make a small yet powerful declaration in the comments. Sometimes, a single comment, such as "I needed this" or "I feel this too," can be the exact comfort someone prayed for in their nighttime loneliness. So, if something in this prayer touched you, even just one word, share your heart below. Let others feel less alone by your courage to speak. Your vulnerability creates space for others to breathe, to pause, and to know they are safe too. Just type, "I believe God is listening," or "I surrender this night to you," or "I trust you, God." It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. There's something holy about writing it down, about putting your surrender, your whisper of faith, out into the light. It's not for attention. It's for alignment. You're not declaring to be seen by others, but to plant your hope deeper into the soil of God's presence. And every time someone else scrolls past and sees your words, your honesty becomes a light for them too. A lighthouse in the dark, a reminder that surrender is sacred and that they're not the only ones searching for peace. Your story mayn't matter, or that your faith is too fragile to inspire anyone. And if tonight you feel led to go deeper, to be part of something more, something consistent, meaningful, and spiritually life-giving, I invite you to join this growing community. So subscribe if you'd like, not just to stay updated, but to stay grounded. And if there's someone on your mind right now, yes, that one person who's struggling silently, carrying a burden they haven't shared, scrolling late into the night, looking for something, anything, to anchor them, consider sending this video to them. Before we say goodnight, I want to bless you one more time, not with fancy words, but with faith. And if tomorrow comes with more battles, more questions, more things you do not feel ready for, I pray you remember this one simple truth: you do not have to face it alone. So lights down, heart open, spirit still. Let this night be your reset. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for trusting your soul enough to breathe in peace again. We'll meet again. Same voice, same stillness, same God.